my parents have actually changed where they live like 3 times.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I have like a different routine for each one. But for you, what's kind of the biggest change for you?
You know what? For me,
皆さんこんにちは、アーサーです。いつもご覧いただき誠にありがとうございます。今回はあなたのリスニングを鍛えるためにネイティブ同士の会話をお届けしたいと思います。今回はいつも通りですが、ネイティブのアメリカ人の友達のオースティンとお話しすることになって、今回の会話はもともと The Austin and Arthur Show という別のチャンネルで放送されたものですね。で、基本的に週1回オースティンと日本酒を飲みながら日本に住んでどう思うかについてお話しするんですけど、普段は字幕がないんですね。で、今回お届けしたいのは、その字幕がついている版ですね。日本語と英語の字幕が両方ついているので、自分のリスニングを確認するのと、自分の理解度も確認できます。You can do both of those in this one. もしこれ以外にたくさんの動画をご覧いただきたい場合は、You can check out the Austin and Arthur show by clicking up here or clicking the link in the description box below. では、早速始めましょう。
All right, man. Cheers.
Cheers,
Kanpai.
cheers. Kanpai.
Dude, I'm really glad you got this like namazake. I really like this actually.
Do you? Yeah. So I've been meaning to bring a bottle of sake from Oita that okay, fair enough. I've been meaning to bring a bottle of sake from Oita. And it's, ironically, this actually isn't even it.
Oh yeah, right.
This is the one from my
last week. You're supposed to bring it too, but you forgot.
Yeah. So this has been wrapped up in my refrigerator for probably about 2 months now.
Okay.
And there's a sake that we originally bought, and I was like, man, this would be great on the show. So I'm gonna bring this. And then so when I was getting ready to bring it today, I took it out of the bag, and it's like, well, this isn't what we bought.
Yeah. Right.
So I think this is what Yui bought. I think this was actually supposed to be a gift to you. I wasn't supposed to drink this, but fair enough.
Oh, hey, dear. Good to see you.
Hello.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of like a nice surprise. I've never had raw sake before.
Yeah, I know. It's very unique. It's got like a unctuousness to like a richness.
A little bit. Yeah. It's I'm not really quite sure how I feel about it.
I know it's different. It's like it's not pasteurized. It's got a little bit of carbonation.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like it, because I actually it tastes really good, but it's just it's not what I expected.
Yeah.
When I'm, because like sake has a very unique taste that when you have it, it's like, okay, this is sake.
Yeah.
And this feels very different from that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of like when you go to an IPA after just drinking Budweiser for your whole life.
True.
Yeah, it's just completely different. You know. Yeah. Okay. So, dude, today, what are we going to be talking about?
We are going to be talking about how our daily lives have changed from living in here compared to our daily lives over in America.
Yeah. You know, it's going to be kind of interesting for me to talk about this because I actually had about 3 daily lives because we actually, in the process of me moving, like of me living here, my parents have actually changed where they live like 3 times.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I have like a different routine for each one, but for you, what's kind of the biggest change for you?
You know what? For me, I think there's kind of 2 big change. First of all, I have an activity that I do when I commute now.
Okay.
Which I mean, it's kind of similar to before. 'Cause before I used to like listen to music and podcasts while I was driving, but now that I don't drive, I ride the train.
Yeah.
I have free hands. So, like I play smartphone games, I'll watch YouTube, or I'll do something like that. And so commuting has kind of, for me, been a little bit more of like private time.
Yeah.
Especially because, I'm going to be moving in with my girlfriend here in a couple weeks. So I'm not going to have a lot of private time at my home. And so, for me, that's still my time that I can, if I want to watch some YouTube videos or something.
So you have private time in a train full of people.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that works, isn't it? But as you know, if you ride the train here, it's kind of a weird phenomenon because you're super, super crowded, but everyone is just in their personal space.
Yeah, and it's so quiet. It's like the doors close and it's quieter than like a forest or something.
Yeah, it's really crazy how that works. Unless they leave the stupid door open.
Yeah.
Or not the door, though, the window. It drives me nuts because I ride the subway.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure it's for health reasons because of COVID or whatever. But they keep the window down.
Yeah, and then you can hear all the noise from the tunnels.
Yeah, and the tunnel echoes all the sounds, so it's deafening.
Yeah.
Which drives me nuts. But usually trains are nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a big change for me because like I'll give you a stark contrast, okay? So I used to commute a lot when I was living in California.
Yeah.
Right? I had friends who lived in LA.
Yeah.
I was stationed down in Camp Pendleton, the Marine base, which is near San Diego. So those of you who've been to California know that San Diego and LA is about a 2-hour drive.
Really?
Realistically, it's about a 1-hour drive.
Okay, but with traffic?
There's traffic.
Okay.
So it's about a 2-hour drive.
Okay.
So, I spent a lot of time in my car when I was living down there, and California culture is windows down, blast music.
Yeah, right.
And that's what everyone does on the freeway, right? And so I used to do that. So that was, for me, it was like you kind of just turn up your music and you're just like singing along, kind of dancing in your car, just doing stuff. And, that's what I did every day.
Yeah.
And it's really enjoyable, actually. It's like you think that being stuck in traffic all the time sucked, but yeah, it was nice.
It's fun. You sing the music. You just kind of listen to what you want.
Yeah. But here it's, I'm not dancing around singing to music. I'm watching YouTube or playing games.
Yeah, you're in your little bubble of isolation.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I actually watch a lot of our episodes when I'm on my way to work in the morning.
You just like to listen to yourself talk. That's all.
That might be true. That might be true. Yeah.
So it's funny though, because you and I, we grew up in very different areas of the country, right? So just to remind people, where I'm from and where you're from is the distance is about 6 hours by plane.
Yeah.
That's how far it is. It's like if you were to drive nonstop, it would take 3 days.
Yeah.
Right. And so where I live, it's really densely populated, actually. Like my mom got frustrated living up in my area. We live in the North Shore of Boston, so the northeast side along the coast. But there are so many houses. Like, how in Japan, how you have the houses and there's very little space between the houses. Everything's kind of crammed together.
Oh, sure.
So it's not that bad, but it's similar to that. Like my mom is
man.
I can see through my neighbor's windows. I hate it. And it's like, okay, well, but that's just kind of how it is there.
Yeah.
And so when I used to live in the suburbs, actually. I lived in this town that's a peninsula originally, but then after that we moved to kind of where my dad grew up.
Yeah.
And it actually has surprisingly good access. Like from that house, I could take a 10-minute walk and I'd be at the beach. I could take a 15-minute walk and I'd be at the shopping center or the supermarket. Man. I would take a 10-minute walk and I'd be at the train station to go to Boston if I wanted to. Train fare is $7 though, so I wouldn't. It's the commuter rail.
Oof.
Right.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, Seattle's the same way with their commuter stuff. It's
right.
It's like $5 or $10 or something.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, dude, you guys got to get with the times with trains. I don't know how it is. How is it in Europe? Is it expensive?
It's cheaper for sure. Well, I think it's just because so many people use it.
Fair. That's fair.
So I'm gonna go to Milan next week. So I was looking at the train fare, and actually, for me to take a train from central Milan to the airport, it takes about an hour.
Yeah,
and train fare is 10-13 euros, maybe. It's $15.
Actually, no, that's reasonable.
Well,
it's $20 to go to Narita.
When you go Narita, it's from $20 depending on how you go.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean that's nice. So it's actually quite walkable where I am. And actually now my parents they had to move again, and so we live in a place that's closer to the beach actually. So in the mornings, my routine isn't that different because when I'm here, in the mornings I take a walk, and over there in the mornings I take a walk.
Yeah.
The difference is just I don't know. Here I don't have a car, whereas in the States I get into a car at least once a day and drive somewhere.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I guess another thing too that's different is just how often I go to the supermarkets.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. I was just having a conversation with one of my coworkers about this the other day because supermarkets in the U.S. or in just stores in general are kind of set up for people to go to the store about once a week or once every couple weeks a month.
Yeah.
And here in Japan, it's not really like that. People, like, for example, when people go to the grocery store almost every day, like you'll get dinner on your way home from work, for example. Whereas, like, you know, compared to back in Seattle, it's like you go to Costco like once a month and you just bulk buy everything. And then you have this huge pantry that you can kind of pull stuff from. But here you don't really have the space for that. So that's really different.
Dude, I had a friend in Seattle that had like a second freezer just for meat, because he would go to Costco and bulk buy all this meat.
And that's very common.
Yeah.
We had the same thing in my parents' house. So we would have our refrigerator in our kitchen. And then over in the laundry room, which usually it's in like the laundry room or in the garage or something, somewhere kind of a little bit further away. But yeah, we had this giant freezer. And we would put meat in there and berries.
Berries.
Like, my parents were friends with people who had like a big blueberry farm, so we'd get these huge crates of blueberries. It was so good. It's harder to get blueberries here; they're more expensive.
So like one thing that's actually really changed me after living here is because I'm so used to the lower prices when I go to eat out. Whenever I go to eat out in the States, and I want to get probably hamburgers, like good gourmet hamburgers, are around the same price, I think. But if I just want to go to like a restaurant and get some food, it's the base price is more expensive. Plus there's tip. Plus there's tax. And so I'm just like, I want to get this basic meal that would cost maybe 1,500 yen, like $15. It costs like $30 in the States, and I just can't, like, it just hurts me.
I will tell you, you know something else that I've noticed about is, let me see if you feel the same way. Do you eat alone here at restaurants? Did you do that?
No, never.
So for me, it always felt very strange to go to a restaurant alone. And I felt it wasn't even strange. I felt uncomfortable. Like, I felt like, at least in America, it feels like going to a restaurant is a social activity. If you are going to a restaurant alone, it's a little odd. Right? And so when I first moved here, there's many restaurants that are specifically designed for solo eating. Like, for example, Skia. If you go into there,
Skia,
there's the little solo booths.
The gyudon place, right?
And there's several restaurants that are set up that way. Sometimes I'll go to Gotanda and there's like a yakiniku restaurant. And yakiniku has like, they've got like the big cooker in the center, right? The grill. There's small solo tables that have like a little mini grill. So it took a long time. Like, I'm talking several years for me to finally be comfortable with going out. And it's just recently that I've kind of been okay with eating by myself.
Well, it's like if you go to the States, right? Like like you said, a lot of places like Sukiya, and I'm also thinking of like Yayoi Ken is another place where you can get decent meals, but they're all places where it's seating for two people, or it's like a counter that leads to one person. And in the States, the only place where you have that kind of counter seating is at a bar. And that's when you're drinking. But if you're actually going to go eat something, and that's also facing the bartender, so it's almost like you want to talk with the bartender, you know? But if you go to the States, first of all, the restaurants are larger. They accommodate more people, and all the tables are made for like 4 or 5 people. So if you're sitting at this one table by yourself and it's all these other chairs, it's almost like you feel like there should be someone there,
It feels weird, but that's funny. That's a big part of my life that's changed. Is I've grown comfortable with eating at a restaurant alone.
I mean, I still think I wouldn't do it in the States, but in Japan,
I agree. I think a big thing is you can bring a lot of food home in the States.
That's
you know what I mean?
Thing.
Like, drive-thrus are a thing in Japan if you go kind of a little bit further outside of Tokyo, but here in Tokyo, there's not a lot of drive-thrus.
Dude, I gotta tell you, so like where I live, everything is becoming like a drive-through place. Like, there's actually, so this is even when I was.
Are you talking about here?
No, sorry, in Boston.
Oh, in Boston. Okay.
So like even so when I was in high school, one of our favorite places to go was Bagel World. It was a bagel place.
Oh, this sounds like a magical place. I love bagels, man.
It's like the best bagels ever, dude.
Yeah.
I had bagels in New York.
Yeah.
These were better. And but yeah, so like there were two tables inside, but everyone always does takeout or they go to the drive-thru.
Sure.
And the drive-thru has like 15 cars lined up and you have to wait. It's like they're snaking in the parking lot to get there, you know? But that was the thing. You'd like wake up early and you'd go to Bagel World, you wait for 15 minutes to get to get there. But yeah, everything was really like drive-through based and you would take food home. Like I remember I would go with my friends to a Cheesecake Factory. We could talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like because the portions are so big, you'd never expect to eat it. So of course the prices are expensive. It's like $20, $30, but you would do that because you expect to take it home and then you have lunch for tomorrow too.
Yeah.
And you don't do that here.
Yeah, no, like I shouldn't say there's no places that allow you to take home because it's something that's starting to be implemented here. Because I think I just read that it's a law that Japan is trying to get passed right now to require restaurants to offer a bag to carry home for it's like environmental reasons, like because it's just throwing out food.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's such second nature in the US to like bring home food that you don't even think about it until like you come here and it's like, oh, okay, well, we ordered too much food. I guess that's it. You just try to eat as much as you can and whatever you can't eat, you just leave it.
Yeah, that was a huge, big cultural thing. So like, yeah, we kind of plan where we're going to go based on that because it's like, oh, I don't want to cook tomorrow, so I'm going to go to this place that has big portions because
oh, yeah, exactly. For sure.
What's something else that you that's different between your life here and your life in the States?
I had to significantly change my like the food that I eat every day.
This would be interesting.
And what I mean by that is so I can't speak for all of America on this. I think living in Seattle, you're kind of lucky because you're kind of spoiled for choice for food that you can select in there because Seattle's got a wide selection of Asian foods.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you guys are blessed.
Yeah. So living in Seattle, like I could eat whatever I want. If I want Southern fried chicken, we got a place for that. If I wanted, Vietnamese pho, I could go there. If I wanted teriyaki, if I wanted sushi, if I wanted, Mexican food, like there's a place near my house that I know that I can go to. Living in Tokyo has opened up a little bit, right? Yeah. There's definitely options here, but the big difference is there are destinations that you have to plan out ahead of time, right? There's not like a local Mexican restaurant next to my apartment. Yeah. It's like, okay, there's a good Mexican restaurant, but it's in Nakameguro and it's like 45 minutes on a train ride. You know what I mean? So it's not a huge deal because I like Japanese food, but it's something that I had to get used to. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to be eating the same food pretty much every day. I'm going to be eating some kind of meat or fish. I'm going to be eating rice and some kind of vegetables. That's going to be my daily routine. Yeah. Right? And so that was kind of a big adjustment that I had to do. And I think that's one of the more challenging things when moving here. Is if you're somebody who's used to like a big variety of different kind of ethnic foods, that's just not something that's really available locally.
Yeah. For me, what kind of hit me when I moved here is I developed more of an appreciation for good food.
Sure.
Because I feel like the discernment in the States is a lot lower than here. Like if you just go by, like for instance, you have Taberogu here, right? Yeah. So in the States, we have something similar called Yelp. Yep. Right. And like the average rating on Yelp is like 4.5 stars. Yeah. Like when you look and it says, if it's below 4 stars, it's a bad restaurant. Yeah. But in Japan, everything is on average like 3, the way it should be. And so it's like, oh, this is 3.4. This should be a pretty good place. Yeah. And so I feel like there's more of that appreciation for that.
Oh man, we've had discussions on this. Steak in America.
Steak, yeah, right.
Like compare it to steak here in Japan. like there's no comparison.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. I didn't even realize how good steak was until I moved here.
Yeah, right.
Like before it was kind of one of those things where it's like, it's okay. Like I've been with my brother to like really high-end steak restaurants, and the steak there was really good, right? Because you're paying like $100 a steak.
Yeah.
But you go to like an Applebee's or just like a normal diner place, like you get a steak dinner there. A steak is garbage.
Yeah, right.
It's terrible. But you don't realize that it's terrible, and then you come here and just like, whoa, steak's pretty good.
One thing that also kind of has changed for me, I think, is the amount that I want to travel. I think, because one thing is Japan's a very compact country, but on top of that, there's also a lot of advertising money spent in advertising locations, like why don't you go here, why don't you go here, why don't you go here. And like it's funny because in the States I never saw an advertisement for
that's really interesting, isn't it?
Why don't you go to California, why don't you go to Montana? I've never seen that.
I've seen advertisements like on TV, like, hey, look, here's this destination in Florida or something, right?
But I've never seen Florida, dude.
I've never seen like especially government sponsored programs that are just like, hey, look, go to this place and you'll get like $100 off your plane ticket or something. But we have like the go-to travel campaign going on, which I'm going to take advantage of this summer. I'm really excited about it. I really want to go to Kansai.
Nice.
For Obon. It's something I try to do every year, but I haven't done it the past couple of years because of COVID. And man, I'm itching to go back to Osaka.
Yeah, but it's like the focus on domestic travel is huge.
So much.
I feel like when I was in the States and I would see advertisements for travel, it would always be like a foreign country.
Yes.
Like that's much more prevalent than let's visit Montana or have you seen North Carolina?
What about Idaho?
Do you want potatoes?
You can grab some potatoes and see dust. It's a great place to visit.
Have you ever actually been to Idaho?
I have traveled through Idaho.
You've traveled through Idaho.
How I will label that.
Okay.
Idaho's one of those places that, forgive me, anybody watching this is if they're from Idaho, but I'm sorry, your state sucks. Idaho's one of those places that's like you're driving through it and then you'll hit like a gas station and be like, all right, cool, there's a giant like hill or something that I guess is famous here. Well, I have to pee, so I guess we'll go visit this. And that's your experience with Idaho.
Sounds like Pennsylvania to me.
So it turns out America has these two places called the East Coast and the West Coast, and then everything in the center is kind of like, I'm going through this, so I guess I'll see it.
It's true. It's
know
true.
What I mean?
Like I remember because I have some friends in Kentucky, so we would drive from Boston to Kentucky, 14 hours, right?
Yeah.
And you go through and I didn't want to hit the tolls, so I went through upstate New York, through Pennsylvania, and like literally Pennsylvania is just riding on the freeway that goes 300, 400 miles straight through, no turns. It's the worst thing ever because I get so tired because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
But whenever we would go off and go to a rest stop, it'd be like the dankiest place ever with like dirt everywhere. And like, I'm like, wow, this is what middle America is like.
Yeah. It's, it's really true.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I'm sure rural areas in Japan are very similar. I just don't go there.
Well, there's just a lot fewer people now because they're all getting old.
Yeah. But there's a lot more domestic travel. It's funny you bring that up though. One thing in regards to domestic travel is the transportation that we use too, right? I can count on my finger the amount of times that I've flown to a state.
Okay.
But I could not do the same if I were to say driving to a state.
Right, because you drive a lot more.
Yeah, right.
Freeways are so cheap there.
Yeah, it's just like when you think of domestic travel in the U.S., unless you're considering like flying from like L.A. to New York or something, right? If you're going like from north to south, basically, you don't fly. You drive there.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, maybe it takes a day.
Yeah.
But still, it's like the journey itself is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And for here, it's like, I actually really want to go on a road trip. That's a kind of a goal for me in the next year or two, is to get a license.
Yeah.
Or a driver's license here. But for me, it's just like, honestly, just taking the train or flying on an airplane is like pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Like it's just a couple $100 to fly to Osaka, for example.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also if you want to go from Niigata to Tokyo, it costs about like 5,000 yen.
Yeah.
Just using the freeways,
Yeah, exactly. Right. And how much is it on the train?
It's like, it would be about like $80.
Yeah, but then you got to account for like gas and renting a car and like all the other expensive, and it just ends up being less convenient. At the end of the day, and because of Japan's size, it's like if you take a plane to like some of the further, like if you're going to Hokkaido or Kyushu or something, it's like 30 minutes on a plane.
Yeah,
it's so short.
Yeah. I also do, speaking of that, because everything's so compact, I go to amusement parks a lot more here.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I completely agree. Now, the one exception I will say is I had a routine where I would go to Disneyland once a year.
Okay.
When I was living in California.
When you're living in California.
Yeah. But to be fair, Disneyland is like a big deal in California. It's really like it's so much bigger than it is over here.
Yeah.
So there's just more to do, and it's kind of like, again, it's like a group activity. You bring a couple friends, like, hey, let's go to Disneyland and go have fun. But here, I think something that I noticed between theme parks in the U.S. and theme parks in Japan is I think there's a lot more catering to adults in Japan.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like for example, they sell beer at Disneyland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at Disney Sea. I should differentiate, but at Disney Sea is basically Disneyland, right?
Right.
You can't get beer at Disneyland,
right? Because it's more of like a kids.
Yeah, it's a kids. I mean, obviously, if you go to a restaurant, I'm sure they serve alcohol at some places, but if you go to Disney Sea, which is to those that don't know, is the adjacent theme park. Think like California Adventure, that kind of thing,
right?
If you go to Disney Sea here in Japan, there's little stands that'll be like, hey, you can get a glass of beer. And that's it. It's just a little food cart with beer. And so it's like those kind of amenities that makes going to a theme park a little bit more like accessible for adults.
I think for me too, it's just the fact that it's so close. Because I mean, you used to live in California, but I lived in Boston. So it's either I fly to California or I drive 14 hours to Florida.
Yeah.
Take your pick, And it's like, so to be honest, like when I lived in Germany, I went to Disneyland. I went to Euro Disney twice. So Disneyland in France.
Oh, yeah, that's in France. Okay.
Yeah, I went there twice. And then I never went when I lived in the States, for like my whole time living in the States.
Yeah.
But since living in Japan for, I don't know, I've been here for about 7 years now.
Yeah.
I've been to Disneyland like 3 times.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, and then in Osaka, you have USJ, Universal Studios. So like, it's either people go to one or the other where they are,
Yeah.
But it's just so much easier to go.
It is. I actually really want to visit Fuji-Q Highlands. My friends have gone a couple times and they've invited me, but I just had something that prevents me from going each time. But that's one of the places I really want to go to because I actually like roller coasters. But yeah, I just you're exactly right. Back in the U.S., it's like unless you live in a state with like a big destination theme park, you're probably not going.
It's just too tough to go. So far.
Yeah, I mean Seattle's got like. What the hell is the theme park?
I don't even know.
It's Six Flags Enchanted Forest. You ever heard of that?
There's Six Flags in Seattle.
There's a six. Well, yes,
in Washington.
Yeah, it's it's in Federal Way.
Okay.
So it's a bit south.
Okay.
It's kind of closer to Tacoma, to be honest.
Okay.
But it's like a blip.
Yeah.
Compared to Disneyland or
Yeah, I mean, so where I lived, we actually had it was a summer kind of water park called Canopy Lake Park. And so I went there once.
Yeah.
But it's like every state used to have its small like amusement thing, but it wasn't ever these big things,
Man.
One other thing, I don't know about you, but for me, one other thing that's really different living here is my inclination towards gift giving has gone higher.
Oh,
so
isn't
I
that
give
crazy?
more gifts more.
So it's kind of funny because and I mean this might depend on like what economic status your family is too, but in my family we typically there's not a lot of gift giving, but the gifts that are given are typically really expensive.
Okay.
Here in Japan, you don't usually see expensive gifts.
Yeah.
Like almost ever, unless it's like a really like important gift, like a wedding or, that kind of thing, right? But there's a lot of gift giving.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm traveling somewhere, it's kind of an expectation that I'm gonna be giving,
right?
Omiyage or
if you, like I'm going to Milan and I realize I need to get a bunch of stuff for
people.
Yeah,
it's like my coworkers and everything. It's like, hey guys, I'm going to Oita, and they're like, oh wow, what are you guys gonna bring back? That kind of thing, right? And I like it. It's I used to feel a little socially awkward about giving gifts, but I've grown out of that.
Yeah. For me too, I was like, why do I have to get gifts for all these people that I don't really care about? But now I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Now it feels weird to not do it.
It does feel weird, and you feel that social pressure.
Yeah.
And also it's like I don't know why, but I do know why, but I get a little bit of a endorphin rush.
Yeah.
When you're giving people, it's like, enjoy the
happy,
snack. You're gonna like it. I already ate 3 of them.
Also, like the quality, the type of souvenirs that you get people is different. So like,
for sure.
When I was in the States and I would get a gift for someone, it would always be something like physical.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not some physical. Of course, you buy some physical, but like in Japan, it's always like food or some sort of food item. Whereas in the States, like I remember my mom, when I went to Osaka to do a homestay, she bought a very nice plate for my host mom, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Normally, everyone else just brings food or like cakes or something like that, So like when I'm kind of wondering what to do in Milan because like there's not that food gift giving culture kind of thing, so they don't have like those stations of the omiyage where it's like, hey,
I mean that's true.
Let's get the box of 10 cookies that you can give to your friends when you come back. That just doesn't exist. So it's like, buy this like model of like the Duomo or something like that. But then you don't. People have everyone already has so much stuff. Like it's weird to get them more stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of there's in some way there's like an anti gift giving culture here of you can give gifts, but like I don't want it to be anything permanent.
Yeah, you have to eat it or you have to use it somehow.
Yeah. Or if you do give me something permanent, it needs to be like a small little magnet.
Super small. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does feel kind of weird because I remember coming back from Seattle a couple years ago and coming back and giving some gifts to people, and it's like I bought like a sweatshirt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you buy clothes or sweatshirt.
Yeah, usually t-shirts or something. That's like kind of like American culture. It's like you buy somebody a t-shirt. It's like, look, we got this t-shirt. Yeah. And they kind of looked at it and was like, oh, well, thank you, but did you not bring any snacks?
Actually, I really want to ask DA this. So DA, when you buy omiyage for people, なんか食べ物以外のお土産を買ったことある? Like シャツとか? Never. Okay. Yeah, right? So like my dad, whenever I go to some place in the States, if you can't buy something really nice, you'll buy a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. No, it's 100% true. And it's kind of expected. Like usually like if my family goes to like Hawaii or something and come back, it's like, oh, would you guys get me a t-shirt?
Yeah, but like the amount that you buy is also a lot less. Like here, I feel like in Japan, you have to like get omiyage for everyone. I mean, it's just a small cookie, so it's not that bad. But like if I had to buy a shirt for everyone and their uncle,
that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I need to get you some like souvenir from Milan or something.
Dude, I know nothing about Milan.
Don't worry about
what is it? I don't even know where Milan is.
So Milan is in Italy, and
okay. I was about to say something really dumb here.
Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci had a stint there for a while. Like the painting of the Last Supper.
Fair enough.
That's in Milan, but
I'm about to show some ignorance here. I thought Milan was in Asia.
That's Macau, actually, but
fair enough.
It's okay, man. Don't worry about it. We know Americans are not good at geography.
Yeah, we just know America and Canada and the the place below America, Mexico.
Everything in the East is China.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. No, dude.
China and the Euros.
Yeah, basically.
God, Americans.
It'll be great. But but yeah, so is there something else in your everyday life here that's different from States?
This is a little bit less impactful than I think the topics that we've already discussed. But one thing is my nightly routine changed.
Okay.
And I actually don't know your schedule, but for me, okay, fair.
Yeah.
For me in America, I showered in the morning.
Okay. Yeah.
And
right.
That's like it's a typical routine. You wake up, you shower, you brush your teeth, you go to work. Yeah. Right. In Japan, to be fair, some people do that, but most people don't.
I shower at night here.
You shower at night.
Yeah.
You come home, you relax a little bit, you eat dinner, you do whatever you want to do in the evening, and then you shower and you get ready for bed. That's like the kind of like the evening routine for most people here in Japan.
Right.
And I love that. I absolutely love that. I can never go back to showering in the morning.
Dude, ofuro time, I really like bath time.
Yeah, right? It's so good. And you just feel ready to go to bed afterwards. You take your shower and you're just like, I'm clean. I changed into my pajamas now. And for me, and this is not something that I immediately adopted when I moved here. This is something that I picked up when I first came to Japan when I was a high school student. After that, even in the U.S., I showered at night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it feels way more natural.
I get it. Yeah, because then your bed doesn't get as dirty.
Because that was the whole thing for me. It's like I really noticed it when I was in my 20s and in college and living with a couple of roommates, and I had a friend who was a mechanic. And we lived, we lived in a condo. It was a 3-bedroom condo, right? And my one friend lived across the hallway, and then me and my other friend, we lived right next to each other, right? So our rooms are right next to each other. And he was a mechanic, right? So he's working on cars all day. And he's a typical guy. A little bit unhygienic. It drove me nuts. I never flushed the toilet, and it drove me insane.
That's gross.
It is super gross. Anyways, enough about that. But so he showered every morning, right? And his room smelled like grease.
Well, yeah, because he goes to bed like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And like I always felt really grossed out by that. Like, oh, dude, shower before you go. Like, why would you want to have like all this grease and grime and stuff all over your bed and everything? And it's just like, I think most people wash their beds like once every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever, right? And like my room never stunk.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Taking showers at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I was always so when I take a shower in the morning, I like it because I wake up more. It helps me to wake up in the morning.
Sure.
But then when I talked with my wife, not to me about it, she's like, yeah, doesn't your bed get dirty? Yeah. And then I was like, no, it
yeah.
Yeah, it does actually.
That's
kind of gross. Okay, I'm going to start showering at night.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a huge shift. But man, it's so great.
Yeah. So that's something that you and I both share as far as like how we've changed. Like even in the States now, I shower at night for sure.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to shower in the morning, in my opinion. Like it's crazy. Once you shift that, it's like, like why do you need to be clean going out? Just wash your face. You're good.
Yeah,
like you're already clean from the night before.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note, it'll be good to finish. We've already finished this bottle, so
this was good.
It was good, right? As you drink it more, it's
nice, right? It kind of catches on a little bit. Yeah. So next time I'll bring the bottle for Moita.
I hope so. This is like the third time now, man. So
yeah.
All right, man. Thanks. See you next time.
See you next time.
いかがでしたか？実は多くの方はやっぱりネイティブとお話ししてこういう会話ができたらいいのになと思いながら英語を勉強してるんですね。でもほとんどの方は英語をたくさん学ぶのにいきなり外国人と対面するってなると頭が真っ白になって言葉が出てこなくて全く話せなくなります。 具体的にどうしたら英語を学ぶだけではなく、生の世界で外国人と自信を持って気軽に話せるようになるんでしょうか。従来の英語学習ではそれができないです。新しい英語学習法が必要です。で、その新しい英語学習法をあなたに届けたくて、今回の動画シリーズをお届けしたいと思いました。IU-Connect のミッションはあなたが英語を学ぶだけではなく、世界の人々と交流して気軽に話せるようになることです。My dream is to help you connect with the world. そのためにいろんなコンテンツ、いろんな活動をしていますので、詳しくは You can click up here or you can click the link below this video. As always, enjoy your English adventures. 一緒に世界とつながりましょう! See you next time!